What the editor is going to see when he connects to his production manager, a lot of things is assigned to me here, but it should be, if I am the editor, then I should see only the editing tasks that are assigned to me. And when the task is set to current, then Seneferu Production Manager will show me all the resources that I need to do the editing task, which is, in this case, it will be all the plates that we ingested to the system after the shooting, in addition to the comp renders for all the composites that we are going to do for the shots. If we didn't make any comp or VFX works on these shots, Seneferu Production Manager will just ignore these when you load the dependencies. If there is something there that was published during the composite of the shot, then this will be loaded in addition to the shot, so you can use the comp renders rather than the actual shot or on top of the shot, depending on how would you like to proceed. The first thing the editor should do is that, of course, you will have to decide which application you are going to use for the edit. If Seneferu Production Manager cannot connect and drive your application, then you can select other. Seneferu works the way that all the applications, even if it's not here, are all supported, because Seneferu Production Manager is a standalone application that decides what the user needs to do his task, and decides the file types and the method how these files have to be loaded in any application to do the job, depending on how did you configure the processes themselves in the pipeline configuration processes table. So the reason why there are particular applications mentioned here, that these are the applications that Seneferu Production Manager can do some works inside them by communicating with them and doing a lot of work for you inside the applications to automate and to make your job faster and easy. But if the application you are using isn't listed here, then you can select other. Then in that case, when you start working on your task and you click load dependencies, you will notice now Seneferu now is resolving all the dependencies for the edit, and will give you a list of all the files that you have to use. And he decided to take the .mov or the QuickTime version of the files that are published to the plates. Even if there are different types, he will take the QuickTimes, and he's telling you that the method that you have to follow when you are loading these files in your editing application is to reference them. Some applications supports in other things that is not the edit, of course. You have different options depending on the application, which is to import the files or to reference the file or to whatever the method that your application is supporting or providing. However, Seneferu Production Manager, according to the configuration, he can tell which method that this application or which method that you should follow when you are loading these files into any application, even when this application isn't supported. Seneferu knows that. So if, for example, your application supports referencing, he will tell you to reference this inside your application. If your application doesn't support referencing, he will tell you, for example, import them or use import XML or use import whatever is. He will tell you the correct method that suits your application, even if the application isn't supported. So, and also will provide you the correct files to load. In the case of editing, Seneferu is giving you a list of all the latest take of each shot, assuming that the latest take is the best take. If this is not the case, then you have one of two options: either that you set the desired version to be the current version or the approved version, or when these are approved, you can select which version you approved. Just for your information, if you go to the any supervision mode, who can be a supervisor for the plates, let's take any plate, because these are approved, so you need to click on the find enclosed. You can refer to the production manager for more details about the interface. Anyway, you can here, when we approve these things, if you show the versions, you will notice that the current and the current, which is the approved version of this take, is the latest. Actually, all of them are version 1, but if you have multiple takes, you will see which one of them is the approved or the current version that you like. This is something you can do directly in the production manager by going through the available takes and review all the takes and select which one of them you wanted or you liked more, and you can set it to approved, or you can set it to current by clicking on this and set the version that you are selecting here to current, which will tell Seneferu which take you prefer for this exact shot. I will go back to my tasks, and I can just delete this and go to my project editing task. Now, again, when we click on load dependencies, now let's assume that you are going to do the edit in, for example, DaVinci Resolve. Then all what you need to do is now to select all these files and to drag and drop them here. And this will load all the files. It will load all the files here. Then you can just minimize this and you can start editing your files. And when you finish the editing, what you have to do is to, depending on how your supervisor configured the project, you will have to deliver the edit that you did. Maybe you need to output any render preview from all the edits that you finished. In addition, which is something that Seneferu requires as a must when you publish the edit, or how is Seneferu procedural pipeline is configured, the way that you have to output with the edit one either Final Cut XML or Premiere XML, which is recommended to use this one. Output Premiere XML file. Then when you let's set it to any location. Let's put it here. Maybe let's make another folder. Okay, and you will write this out. Then also you will have to export the project the editing project. This is actually optional. Maybe you can can put it here too. So now you have the exported project and the XML file of this edit. Seneferu is using the XML file for a lot of downstream processes later. So that's why Seneferu pipeline is configured the way that your editing application should provide an XML. So that in case if you are using Resolve or Premiere to edit, or any other editing application, actually there is no restrictions for that. Now when you go to your production manager, then when you browse now to the files that you published or exported, sorry, then you will drag them and drop them on your task and clicking on as new version. This will publish the files as new version, as version 1. In addition to this, you may actually publish a render preview of your edit because this needs to go to the supervisor or the director or whoever to review this edit and see if he has any notes or approve the edit. Because when the edit is approved, a lot of things will happen by using the edit XML file that was generated. Let's see another option, that if you, for example, using Nuke Studio to do this edit, let's set the task to in progress again. Okay, when you load Seneferu Studio, notice that this is the task control belonging to Seneferu, where the production manager then can connect or communicate with Nuke Studio and do a lot of things for you, like for example, the first thing you need to do is to set this application to Nuke and set the task to current to establish the connection to the task. When the task control, you will see the brief of your task or any technical considerations you have to take care of when you are doing the project. And here you will see any notes that was there that is coming on your task. And now when you do load dependencies of the editing project, now instead of that, Seneferu production manager will communicate with your application that you choose here and will load all the files and will prepare your project for working. So you don't need to you don't have to do anything else. And as you see, he also created the timeline where you are going to do the edit, and then you can edit your project. And let's say when you have finished editing the project, and then you click on publish. Let's go to a frame to take a snapshot. During the publish, let's take anything, not a problem. Then click on publish. Then during the publish, the application will ask you for a snapshot. If you have any additional files like QuickTime preview of this edit or something, you will select it here. Or if you have any folder of references, you can also select it here, so it gets published with the other files. Then now the application is working on generating the files, and after the files are generated, the publish is done, and it will ask you if you want to set it to art review. If you are not sure, always click yes, because Seneferu Production Manager manages your task statuses for you, the way how it should be, and the way how it should satisfy the production at different areas. So if you are unsure, always say yes. This now have the published, and the task is set to review. This automatically tells the production that you have finished your job, and tells your supervisor that the edit has been done, and there is something that he can review and check if he is going to approve it, or if he has any notes to give on that task. Now, when your supervisor or the director makes the review the edit, let's say that I am the director and I'm logging in using my account, then I will see that I have the editing here. I will review it by shift clicking on this to review the QuickTime that you have published with that file. And let's assume that I'm satisfied with the result that you did, then I will approve it. Then once this is approved, it will go to, now when this is finally approved, what happens now under the hood, that Seneferu is going to modify all the shots based on the approved edit. If you go now to the shots, notice now that all the shots frame range information has been modified according to the edit that we did. However, that's not what we usually do, because approving the edit means that we already finished almost everything, and all the VFX has been done and published implemented in the or inserted in the edit. Because this is of course not the case, and we still have more work to do. So what we usually do for this kind of VFX projects, that you create a VFX edit task rather than the final project edit task. The difference between the two tasks, actually, you can say that the difference is nothing but just the naming that tells that this VFX edit is more likely to go to a VFX editor who can have a better understanding and opportunity to decide how to select the good takes, and how to match the plates with the layers according to the type of visual effects that are going to be done on each shot in the edit. So for example, he might be aware of if the shot have enough markers for the tracking, or and how to match these things, or make a simple blending and comp between a back plate and another green screen layer, for example, to make the matching that will require some visual effects works, or whatever the VFX works you are going to do. So this actually makes more sense that you create for this intermediate editing phase. So what I will do instead of the project edit is that I will publish final VFX edit that I did before to this task instead. So what I will do now is that I will publish this edit to the new editing task that we created. Then this will be used instead as an intermediate editing where we took the best take that is suitable for the VFX works that we are going to do on these shots. And again, we have to either approve this by the director if that is needed, then we can make the final approval, or you can configure the VFX edit to be having a direct technical approval or final approval without going to the director, assuming that this is not the version that the director is expecting to see as a final edit, but instead this is the VFX edit only for the shots or only for the parts that will require the VFX works and will not be editing that we have. Now, if you look at what happened in the database, you will notice that if we go to the shots, I closed it. If you go to the shots now, you will notice that the frame range of each shot was set according to the VFX edit that we published. As mentioned before, each process overrides what the previous process did. So, for example, the storyboard edit will set the approval of the storyboard edit will set the frame range. Then the approval of the previous edit will refine or correct the frame range according to the previous edit. When you go out for shooting and you ingest your materials, the non-existing shots will be created, and when you publish, for example, like in this case, the VFX edit will override the frame range again, and so on. Any downstream process overrides what the upstream process did as a refinements, as long as you are building and making progress in the project. Now, when the VFX team proceeds with working on their jobs, the production manager will be aware of what is the frame range of the tasks they are doing. For example, if the tracking TD is now going to start working on the tracking task, then Seneferu production manager will automatically set the frame range or the correct frame range that needs to be tracked, in addition to the handles at the head and the tail of the shots according to what you configured. Seneferu by default putting 5 frame handles unless you configure it for something else. On the other hand, you will notice that the frames are not actually starting from zero. The reason why we do that we need some frames at the beginning, sometimes for any pre-roll or simulation, relaxing or whatever. So we need these frames at the beginning for this purpose. So Seneferu is by default configured the way that if the editing shot starts from 0, then the frame range will start from 1001. So you can say that there is a 1001 frames are added to the actual frame number. Anyway, you don't ever need to look at the numbers or think about them or calculate any numbers. Seneferu production manager is automating all these things for you, so you don't need to worry about it, but that just in case you are asking to yourself why the number looks like this. So here This in the edit, the end frame was 68. That's why this is here 1069, and this is the output or the out point, and this is the end after the 5-frame tail, and this is the start before 101 frames for any simulation relaxing or clothes relaxing or any other reasons that might be needed for any type of simulations. And for your information now, the main project edit task will have the VFX edit as one of the dependencies. If you go down, you will find that the VFX edit is one of the dependencies of the editing task. In that case, the timeline of the project edit will come automatically as dependency for the project editor when he's doing the edit of the project. So this timeline will be imported for him. So the job or the editing works that been done here are not going to be repeated here again. So the editor who's doing this task, if not the same one, will make use of what happened here. And he will also make sure to use the same edit here, because this is satisfying the technical requirements for the shots. Finally, when anything affects your editing task, you will find that your editing task that was closed or approved before has been reopened automatically by Seneferu Production Manager in case of if anything affected your job. Like in this case, after we finished working on the composite of some of the shots, Seneferu Production Manager automatically opened that and is giving you notes that describe for you what are the updates that requires that you look back into this and revise it. In this case, it's telling you that the comprehender of some shots has been done. So in this case, what you will have to do is you will set the task to current and check out the edit. And you can now load the dependencies for the shots that requires the update, and also set your task to in progress and do load dependencies. This now loaded that shot for you. Then you can now place this shot on the edit, or in addition to any other shots that was finished. What you are going to do is just like what I did. According to the note that you received, you will select all the affected shots that were mentioned in the notes here. Once the update is done, then you will, of course, you will publish the edit again, where after it has the final shots. This becomes your final edit. In case if we have the project edit is our final project edit, then these will go for there, and accordingly this will later go to the color grading or any other processes that it should go for next.